Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hospitality Room presented by Mascot Media. Bobby Swofford, Blair Cartwright with you here. Mr. Swofford, how are you today?
Good. We've almost made it to the first full week of August, which means it's really busy in my office, and more importantly, football's here because I watched a full game last night on the
Oh,
television.
yes. Oh, good. Now,
Yeah.
how did you watch it? You've
So
got a
I have the N
subscription to something, right?
no, well, I have the NFL Network, and that was the
Okay.
game that was on, so I was able to watch it through that.
Okay. And we will break that down momentarily. We'll get into a lot of different things. First, there was some breaking news this week. The University of Arkansas and GoatLab Brewery in Lowell have announced Tusk Beer, which is a beer that will generate proceeds for the NIL. Your thoughts on
Mhm.
this? Pretty ingenious, I think.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense to be honest. So as long as that beer doesn't taste god awful, people will buy it just because they know at least they're going to buy beer anyway, so they might as well
Yes.
support the Razorback athletes while getting drunk. So let's go for it. You've already done it. Look
First,
at you.
first six pack sold in Northwest Arkansas, right here.
I was about to say, have you had
Because
one?
I haven't had one, I thought, what better way to break it in than with the podcast? And I'll save one for you. Not bad.
Yeah,
Not bad. It's
yeah.
a Pilsner,
What?
which some people don't like. Some people want an IPA. But I'll tell you what, I like it's drinkable. It's smooth. I'm impressed.
What's it comparable to? Is that a Bud Light, Miller Light?
I could taste a little Bud, little Budweiser
Okay,
uh, deal. Chatted briefly with the owner. I guess they weren't quite open when I barged in to buy a six pack because you couldn't find it and release where to go.
right.
And he said it's a labor of love. They've already sold out. They had it in Little Rock, distributed this morning, first time, sold out. 800 cases, boom, off the shelf. It's
Wow.
only available at GoatLab Brewery this week in Lowell, and then next week it'll start spreading out everywhere. But this could be pretty big, and it's pretty ingenious because the some of the proceeds go to NIL,
Yeah.
and instead of a sweatshirt, who doesn't
Yeah.
want a nice cold beer? So
If you would have asked us when we launched this, who's going to be the first person to crack a beer during the podcast, all my money would have been on me. I was like, oh, that's going
yes,
to be me for 100%. Sure. So kudos to you. First beer
yeah.
drink goes to Blair Cartwright.
Well, I just thought, in the name of research and what we do for our viewers, we got to be cutting edge. And this is an exclusive. I mean, first six pack sold Northwest Arkansas. So
Actually,
anybody
there's a
else?
screenshot.
Yes, let's hope so on the YouTube.
So
So
yeah, so
that was
that's got it. So
exciting.
we should go back and screen share. Tell you what, you drink
Yes.
that, put it back up your mouth. We're going to
Okay.
screenshot this, and we're going to make this happen.
Okay. Mm,
Got it.
yeah. But very good. They're still working on the labels, but very excited about he said the response has been tremendous. Everybody wants it. It'll be available pretty much throughout the state, everywhere. So, pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah,
cool, ingenious. So, that is our hospitality room exclusive there. So,
perfect. It's in the picture's in your inbox already, so we're going to make it
oh,
happen.
sweet. Yes. Well, that's what this show is about football, food, and fun, which,
That's
you know,
right.
beer is fun. So let's
Yeah.
get to our headlines. We'll start first. The NFL. Well, that's the wrong one. Let me bring it up. Here's the proper one. I didn't have it already.
Yeah.
Too much Tusk already.
Yeah.
Out of
Drunk.
control. Yeah, the Hall of Fame inductions took place last weekend. Did you watch any of it? I did see a couple photos, and the Steve
Hmm.
McMichael thing was very moving.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's cool these guys go in, but I don't know. It kind of got lost in the shuffle, didn't it, with the Olympics?
A little bit, yeah, because it definitely took a back burner because of the Olympics. Normally, that's on every sports channel. Everybody's looking for content that's on top of everything, but because of the Olympics, I do think it kind of got drowned out a little bit this year. But of course, the Hall of Fame game got canceled midway through the third quarter because of the weather. But it's the Mungo McMichael stuff was really emotional and pretty raw because obviously it's such an accomplishment for these guys to be able to finally get that call into the Hall of Fame and for him not to get it when when he was still at the peak of his health. It's a little disappointing, but still a very touching picture to see him being able to celebrate with friends and family.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's just it's a devastating what it's done to his body, but great
Hmm.
that he is in there. So speaking of the Hall of Fame, as you mentioned, the Hall of Fame game saw the debut of the new kickoff rule. Your
Yeah.
thoughts on that, as this is very much a work in progress.
Yeah, and I actually had this conversation at lunch with one of my buddies. Is I think what we're going to see with this kickoff rule throughout the preseason is going to be very different than what we see in week one. I
Hmm.
think we're going to see a lot of vanilla, a lot of just one-on-one blocks. We're just going to return it right up the middle. We're going to get the ball at the 25-yard line. Essentially, is what's going to happen. And I saw that's in the Hall of Fame game. The average starting position for the two teams was the 26-yard line. And watching the Patriots Panthers game last night, it was pretty much the same thing. There wasn't a ton of kickoffs because there wasn't a ton of points scored. But I think honestly, it's going to be kind of a generic play in the preseason. I think it really does open up some possibilities to be intriguing once you open up. Hey, we're going to double team to the edge, or we're going to try to do something other than run right back up the middle. I think it could be pretty intriguing to see what these teams do and how creative they can get on special teams.
Yeah, and everybody don't write it off and say it's horrible because
Hmm.
otherwise there would be no kickoff because everybody's just going to kick it out of the back of
Yeah.
the end zone and here we go.
And I think we're going to start to see some of that too in the regular season. They're going to pick their spots. I think we're
Hmm.
still going to see a handful of touchbacks, if not more, maybe even half the percentage of touchbacks because they just don't want to mess with it. Why risk giving up a big return when you say, "Oh, we're just going to give it to you at the 30"? It's only 5 yards more than what it used to be, and you still got to go 70 yards to score. We're going to make you earn it instead of the possibility of popping one big play after a missed tackle.
No, I agree. It totally makes sense. And I forgot to add this slide, but you mentioned the Patriots Panthers last night.
Hmm.
Your takeaway on that scrimmage, because I did see some highlights. Joe Milton looked good.
Yeah.
Drake May, don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, so I went into the last night's game expecting nothing because the Panthers had 33 players who were inactive, which means and
Ugh.
then some for Carolina. His defense looked very good, and then they still had a handful of starters not playing. Dietrich Wise played one snap last night, the former Razorback, and he had a sack
Mm.
on that one play. So it's really hard to because Carolina was the worst team in football, and then you take their starters away from that, they're really bad. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys I watched on the field for both teams that are going to be sacking groceries in a week or two.
Hmm.
But the one thing that jumped out to me for the Patriots, Drake May ran 7 plays, one was a penalty, three were runs. And so, like, you can't really say three pass plays aren't going to tell you anything about who he is. It was pouring down rain, so you understand why they didn't play him very long. But as a Patriots fan, there's a reason to get excited about Joe Milton for more than only one reason. He played well enough to say that he can at least be a number three quarterback, and they can finally get rid of Bailey Zappi. That's really what I took out of last night's game.
Yeah.
He can,
And,
at bare minimum, be your third string emergency quarterback, but he showed some electric. He's got a live arm, and the scramble ability he showed last night, too, again, against guys who are going to be sacking groceries. But there's a reason that Tennessee won some football games with him at the helm.
oh yeah, and you've got to have a live arm in this league, the
Hmm.
day and age, with the way the rules stand. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just weird. Okay, you give May 8 play. I mean, really, like you said, a
Hmm.
penalty, 8 plays. I mean,
Yeah,
give him a
some of that had to
quarter,
do with their
right?
off. Yeah, some of that had to do with the offensive line. They had a couple guys
Uh,
banged up who didn't play last night. Um, Jacoby Brissett played the first series. Ramondre Stevenson picked up 11 or 12 on the first play. The only time he touched the ball, only the starting running back. Jacoby Brissett goes 0 for 3 and they punt. And then you bring in Drake May, and again, it's pouring down rain. It's a makeshift offensive line. I just don't think they wanted to risk anything on a sloppy weather night. Gerard Mayo, the coach, came out today and said that he's going to get a lot more run in the second preseason game, which pretty much you would expect.
yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And we'll move on to our next headline. It's not sunny in Philadelphia, apparently, but this story came and went.
Mm-hmm.
Sirianni, Hurts, feud, don't get along, and then boom, silence.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? I mean, somebody wanted that out and then it just went away. So was it a big nothing burger?
I think the timing of this one was a big reason for that. If that comes out in week 3 or 4, it's the biggest story in the National Football League. When it comes out that you're talking about that they didn't G Haul last year, nobody cares. Last year's in the
Yeah.
past. They got Saquon Barkley now. They've spent a ton of money on their receivers. They're thinking Super Bowl or bust this year. They've kind of overhauled some of the defensive side of the football. So I mean, it's to me, it's just the timing of it. If you come out with this story in a month, it's a big deal. If not, other than that, you sweep it on the rug, you move past it.
Yeah, I just thought it would have more traction because it was obvious like
Hmm.
Philly's setting up. Okay, we're because they had discussions and thought about getting rid of him, didn't,
Hmm.
brought him back, and now it's like okay, maybe we're having buyer's remorse. But yeah, it was just kind of weird. Came and went. Ayuk, is he going? Is he staying? Where's he? What is going on? We heard the Browns and Steelers were possible, and then the Patriots I think were in on that, and then
Hmm.
they said no. I mean, the guy. I mean, what is? Why would you want to leave the 40? I know you want to get paid, but you're in a good
Yeah.
offense in San Francisco. Why on earth would you leave that to get? I mean, I get getting your bag, but are you really
Hmm.
going to be happy in the two teams, Browns and Steelers?
Yeah, or the Patriots for that matter. You're exactly right. I think what he's doing and what his agent is doing is they're trying to hold the 49ers hostage, but the 49ers don't have to do anything. They can say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not going to show up for us, we're not going to pay you. And if you play for us, I mean, if we're going to trade you, we're not going to trade you away for nothing because teams are obviously willing to give it. But Ayuk has some uh, some chips in his corner too to play with because he can turn down a contract extension. The team's not going to say, "Hey, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to trade for you unless you sign this extension." So he can almost treat this like pre-free agency, if you will, and kind of pick and choose where he wants, or he can sit there and say, okay, I'll play for the 49ers one more time, and if I have a good year, I can go get that bag in free agency and choose where I go to play next year. So he's kind of treating it both ways, and I think the 49ers are doing it right. I think, hey, we're not going to give you away for free. You obviously have tremendous value in the league. I don't know if if he deserves number one money, but I mean, their teams seem to think so, and so there was a rumor that the Patriots might be floating around $30 million a year with what Jefferson and Tyreek Hill and those guys get. I'm glad they didn't offer that, but apparently they were offering a second round pick and a Kendrick Bourne, who's a pretty good receiver. It was their best receiver last year in return for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that the Patriots said no, at least pulled out of it. But I think probably what happened was is Ayuk said no. He's like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
sign with you. So it's very intriguing, but it's also covering up the biggest story for the 49ers this offseason is the offensive tackle Trent Williams is holding out too.
Yes.
That's to me, that's the bigger story. Because
Yes.
if you don't have that all-world tackle, I'm not even going to discredit him by calling him an all-pro. He is an all-world performer at
Mm-hmm.
left tackle. He's not on the field. That's a completely different offensive line.
Yeah, he's probably the most important player on that team.
Hmm.
So yeah, he's going to get his.
For
He's
sure.
got to. So you'd be
Yeah.
crazy not to. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with
Hmm.
Ayuk. The Browns are talking about building a new stadium. Look at this, Bobby. Look at this roof. Now, how great's
Yeah.
that roof going to look in November on a cloudy day with some snow? And of
Yeah.
course,
They
this
need to
is
make that sky gray.
yeah,
Just
this
for the.
is what it's going to look like on the outside. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? I mean, what do you make of that?
Yeah, it's surprising because I mean their stadium's not far from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the
No.
river or the lake, right
Yeah, it's
there,
right there on the
the
lake. It's like
waterfront.
20,
Uh,
twenty-five years old.
yeah, and it's
It's
not. Yeah,
not
I was about to say
it's not
it's not
bad.
old, but these everybody is saying that the stadiums that are 25 years old just aren't good enough anymore, which I don't understand. Like the
Yeah.
Texas Rangers built a new baseball stadium, and their stadium wasn't that old. But it's all about the indoor, the luxury, the comfort of the fans anymore. Like, do you ever think that the Browns or the Vikings would be playing in an indoor stadium? And here we are. Minnesota's got a new one. Cleveland's probably going to get a new one fairly soon. It's Buffalo's the outlier that's saying that they're not going to build a dome.
Yeah.
But also, what it does, especially when you're in a town that has the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you put a roof on that, you can have concerts year round, and you
Yeah.
can start to subsidize that revenue, and kind of what Jerry Jones has done with the AT&T Stadium that started that trend here in the United States. You build these mega stadiums, but you can use them for so many more different things.
Yeah. True. Now it's going to be in what Berta Park, which I have no idea is. I'm assuming that's a suburb of Cleveland. It wouldn't be downtown. So
Hmm.
I mean, but to me, it's like okay, you're in the AFC North. Cold weather. I mean, that's part of a home field advantage. You
Hmm.
vacate that when you build a dome.
Yeah. but it's all about the dollars. If you can convince somebody to buy a suite for 5,000, 10,000, $20,000 more than the old stadium, then that's what they're going to do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Speaking of the AFC North,
Mhm.
Fields or Wilson? Russell's hurt, so Fields is getting all the reps in practice.
Yeah.
Tomlin's kind of hedging back and forth. They're not an offensive franchise. They never really have been. Is Wilson really going to be the week one starter?
Fields has the chance to take it away from him. And injury is the fastest way to lose your job in the NFL. And then they can say, oh, you can't lose your job to injury all you want. You do. The Astro Bledsoe, how that works out for you.
Yeah.
So it's you can certainly lose your job. And the way that Fields played at the end of the year last year for Chicago, he's got some
Mm-hmm.
upside. Can he stay healthy with as much as he runs the football? We'll have to kind of wait and see. He's a little thicker than some of the running quarterbacks we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a definite chance that Fields takes this job if he plays well in practice. If he goes out and shows it in the preseason games, which they don't obviously, I know that doesn't mean much. If he goes out there and has command, and more importantly, has a good rapport with George Pickens and the young tight end that they have, they've got a chance to make a little splash. And then one thing to pay attention to, because we just talked about him, if he plays well in the preseason, or if say he fires out and starts playing really well week 1 or 2, maybe that IU trade's back on the table and say, hey, maybe we
Mm.
need to go out and get another receiver and really make a run at this thing.
Yeah. No, I like that. That makes sense. And also, Fields is popular in the locker room, something Russell Wilson's not necessarily. So that'll be
Well, yeah,
interesting.
and the one thing with Russell Wilson, he's not making enough money from Pittsburgh that forces them to start him.
True.
He's making a lot of money from Denver, but Pittsburgh's not, back into the corners like, oh, you're taking up so much of our salary cap, you got to play.
Yeah.
That's not the case there.
That's a good point. Speaking of salary cap, the Dolphins have given Tua and Hill big bags,
Mhm. Got
and
to.
they don't win in the cold. But the Browns are doing
No.
them a favor. Of course, the Browns have to make the
Hmm.
playoffs and build that stadium in a dome. But the Dolphins don't play well in the cold. With that in mind, and the AFC still goes through Kansas City and Buffalo, is it smart to put that much money into those two players?
Quarterback especially because it's a have and have not league, and at least Tua is. You may not think he's Patrick Mahomes, but he's a whole lot closer than Mac Jones is, and so
Mm-hmm.
like you've got to go out and lock up those quarterbacks. And then Tyreek Hill is their offense. I mean, he makes
Yeah.
things so much easier for Tua, and so yeah, you have to pay those guys, and they certainly forfeited a lot of their big names on defense. And you saw Christian Wilkins and Xavier Howard, some of those guys, walk out the door in free agency because they couldn't afford. They knew they had to pay Tua and Tyreek coming up. So this team is going to be built to outscore you. Miami is going to play in a lot of 35-31 football games this year,
It's like
and
the
they're going
old
to say,
Chargers.
correct. Yeah, it's really what it's going to be. Like we're going to have to outscore you. I think to me the AFC is now Kansas City and Baltimore. Everybody else, and Baltimore can't win in the playoffs either. I think Buffalo is ready for a huge step backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, losing Steph Diggs and they'll have some guys on the defensive side. I think they really regress this year. I think they may be even like a 500 team, 9-8, somewhere in there. Allen turns the
Mm.
ball over way too much. So to me, it's a two-team race in the AFC.
Okay. A- And with Tua and Hill getting their money, it just blows my
Mhm.
mind the Giants didn't give Saquon his money. You know?
Yeah, it's hard to convince yourself that running backs deserve that.
Yeah.
You watch the Hard Knocks thing, and like the Giants had a number that they wanted to stick at, and I get it because Saquon hasn't been healthy either. And
True.
I know the 49ers just gave Christian McCaffrey a bunch of money, and guess what? He's already hurt. They hadn't even played a
Yeah.
preseason game, and he's hurt. So it's hard to convince yourself that those type of players deserve that much money because running backs are a dime a dozen anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Valid point. Well, my Chiefs gave their kicker 17 million guaranteed for 4 years. Are they insane?
No, I mean, other than
Okay.
Justin Tucker, name a better kicker.
Okay. That's fair.
Can you? I mean,
No, but it's just unheard. I mean, he doesn't punt; he just kicks, and he may not even
hmm
kick off. So he's
yeah,
just going to kick field goals, and he's going to get 17 mil, which tells you
yeah.
about the state of the NFL and how poor the owners are these days.
Well, yeah, that. But like, it's you don't want to be talking about your kicker,
True.
and other than him going off some speech, at some graduation, you never hear about Harrison Butker because he makes his kicks. And
True.
just like Justin Tucker, like nobody ever talks about him because he doesn't miss.
That's true.
Um, like when you're talking about your kicker, just like your long snapper or your backup quarterback, that means things usually aren't going very well.
Valid. Valid point. Valid point. Thank you, sir. Jerry's going to Jerry. Saw a great thing on Twitter the other day.
Oh my God.
If Jerry Jones had the choice, no press conferences all year or radio hits or anything, no media availability, and you win the Super Bowl, guaranteed, would he do it?
I don't think he would.
I don't think he could either. So, do we think he's going to re-sign anybody? Before, I mean, are they going to re-sign anybody or let it all play out?
Have you ever seen an owner put his foot in his mouth more than he's done this year?
Oh no. I mean, but he's always done that. It's just, I don't know if it's the age, old age is catching up with him, but he's always done this. But it's like he's getting crazier as he gets older.
Yeah, but I mean, you go out and I know he's asked about CD Lamb, but for him to come out there and say, I don't have any urgency to get it done, and within an hour, CD Lamb comes out and just quote tweets it with an LOL or a laughing, crying emoji. I mean, there's zero self awareness about what he's at and what his football team needs. It's
He's got
doesn't
no
make any
filter.
sense.
He's got
No.
no filter. He just says whatever. I mean, no other owner in the league. Now, granted, he's the GM as well, but
Hmm.
name a GM who has post game press conferences, radio hits during. I mean,
Yeah.
his media availability is insane. It's like
Yeah.
the old days with meeting with the football coach. Every day after practice, and then on Sunday when he hadn't reviewed the film. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just. But it's good.
Unlimited media availability is what he
Yeah,
has.
it's good fodder for us. So I
Yeah,
mean,
for sure.
we can just keep this in there all the time. Justin Herbert has
Hmm.
plantar fasciitis. I know I didn't say it right.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing, and that's hard to come back from. And that thing's kind of gone a little bit under the radar. I think this could be a big storyline for the
Hmm.
Chargers this year if he can't get healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. They finally go out and invest in the offensive draft. But other than his feet, which may be a problem, Herbert didn't have any throw to, which is always a real problem.
Yeah.
With Mike Williams and Keenan Allen being gone, and Quentin Johnson can't catch the flu. It's I just it's going to be a very very tough road to hoe for Jim Harbaugh and company. Even though he can't go back to college now, I think Herbert's not healthy. That's a very very bad football team. I mean,
Hmm.
people forget how bad they were last year. They were the number five pick in the draft. That's how bad they were.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that's a team that has a lot of deficiencies. And if you take that quarterback away from them, you're flirting with the number one pick next year.
Yeah. We'll see what happens there. The Cardinals are in the news because flag football, female flag football, this is a huge thing on the high school
Hmm.
scene that's blown up. Cardinals are going to stream 7 games this fall in Arizona.
That's cool.
I mean, that's crazy,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, obviously, I see a lot of this because of where I work, and
Mm-hmm.
the conversation about flag football in Arkansas has certainly been brought up. And the reason it's getting so much drive and push is because the NFL's behind it. The
Yes.
NFL is the one who has really spearheaded the let's start flag football. Let's get all of our young women involved, not only in
Smart.
athletics but in football because they know those girls are going to grow up and be football fans and then want to watch the games on Sundays with their husbands and their boyfriends and their friends. It's the
It's
NFL is doing it
smart.
right. Yeah,
Yes.
but it's going to help high school athletics. It's going to help girls become more active in high school athletics because not everybody wants to play volleyball or softball. It gives them another sport to go out and play. I think it's smart. I think we're going to start to see a lot of teams like the Cardinals go out there and try to broaden their fan base by promoting young sports.
Yep. No, I agree. Flag football is huge. It is the
Yeah.
fastest sport
Flag football
growing.
and boys volleyball are probably the two sports that are probably growing interest wise across the country.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of the NFL, food. Food. We love food on this show. Check the.
Hmm.
Well, that's the wrong one. Um,
That's not
that's
appetizing at
not
all.
food. How about this?
Oh my
Cotton
goodness.
candy burrito.
Ugh.
I don't know about that.
Ugh. So it's
Yeah.
M&M's,
Yeah.
Cheerios, Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops, cotton candy shell. I forgot to see how much that would cost. That's going to be available at the Arizona Cardinal games. I
That's also going to that's
A
called
heart attack.
diabetic coma.
Yeah, they're waiting to happen. It'll at least be
Ooh.
25 bucks, I would bet. And for 20
Yeah.
bucks in Atlanta, whoops, wrong headline. Um, check that out. That's what you get for 20 bucks in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Popcorn drink, hot dog pretzel, nachos.
Nachos.
I know the photo's distorted. Looks like some chicken
Yeah.
fingers, um, a pizza. What is it about concessions in Georgia that are crazy cheap?
Yeah. So that's one thing when they built that new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Everything was dirt cheap. So I would say a Chick-fil-A sandwich is like $3.
Yeah.
Granted, it's on a Sunday, so they're probably not open. But but like everything's dirt cheap. There's like we're not going to make our money because like you don't make as much money. And they thought, hey, we can sell even more concessions if we mark the prices down. Kudos to Arthur Blank and Company. Pizza, chicken, fries, pretzel, and a soda and a hot dog for $20. Feed the whole family.
Yeah. Crazy. All right. Don't stop suing. Journey. Have you heard about this lawsuit between
No.
Jonathan Cain and Neil Sean, the last two members of Journey left?
Uh huh.
Cain is suing Sean for improper use of the band's Amex card because he's violated the limit for hotel rooms per night, which is $1,500. Have you stayed in a hotel room that cost $1,500 before?
I don't know that I've stayed in a hotel room that I with my own money that's more than $200.
Can you
That's unreal.
imagine? Yeah,
That's like
he per night. Per night. That's the cap per night. $1,500.
that is the house payments. That's
Yeah,
unreal.
and everybody has their own room.
Mm-mm.
I
Yeah,
just,
I'd sue for that.
I just blew my mind. It's like, where are you staying? I mean, that's got to be the suite. And of course, Sean is now married to uh, I forget her first. She was formerly Salahi. She was part of that couple that crashed the state dinner that Obama held.
Hmm.
Remember that couple that crashed the dinner that
Oh
shouldn't have been
yeah,
there? She's now married to Neil Sean. How crazy is that?
yeah, that's wild.
It's insane. We had a poll on our Twitter feed grilling. How many times have you fired up the grill this summer?
Oh, twice maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably just twice.
It's kind of sad. I mean, I've done it
It
three
is.
times. It's really
It's
sad.
hot. I mean, who wants
Yeah.
to go stand outside when it's 100 degrees?
Yeah. So, and thanks to everybody who contributed to the poll. The most votes I think were 4-6.
Okay.
So we're not alone in our lack of
Yeah.
grilling, if you will.
I'm a really big fan of grilling during football season though. Like I
Yeah.
might have grilled twice now. I am not opposed to go walking outside in hoodies and a flip flop and go work the grill. I am doing that.
It's almost more of a fall thing now, isn't it? Than
Yeah.
summer. I
It's
mean, it
I
used to be
mean,
summer backyard, but now it's fall.
yeah. When it's 110 degrees and I know we're in that town, like the last thing you want to go do is stand over a fire that's 300 degrees. Like that's not doing it. I'm a big man. That's not for me, Blair.